Assalamu alaikum. As Brother Mehdi mentioned, I'll look at how a relatively small youth organization came about to start a project like this, as well as what the funeral care will provide. So how did we come about thinking about a funeral care service? Shabab, the average age I think in the Hayat is about 22, 23, thinking about death. So alhamdulillah, during the COVID pandemic, particularly in early to mid 2020, when the death rate really was going through the roof, a few of the youth took it upon themselves to volunteer at Hujjat Stanmore, KSIMC Stanmore, as it's officially known, to take part in the takfeen and the ghusl of bodies. At some of the worst times, there were up to 10 to 15 funerals taking place a day, massive backlogs, so that the community gelled together. And we were all, of course, acutely aware for decades and decades that there is a need for us to have a funeral care service. MashaAllah, the brothers and sisters at Stanmore, not just for 1 or 2 decades, but for 40 years, have been pretty much the single and only funeral care providers or takfeen and taghsil providers to our community for those 40 years. But during that time, the brothers, of course, saw how difficult it was. Me personally, I also volunteered with Bromley Council, delivering wood to make makeshift coffins and funerals, not just for our community, but for others. And some of the scenes were truly, truly horrific. In some cases, people from our community and Muslims in general were being buried without ghusl. In some of the worst cases that I heard of, I didn't see personally, Muslims were being cremated against their wishes, of course, and against the knowledge of their family. Of course, a lot of this is to do with ignorance, which is something we hope to tackle with this project. But a lot of this is also the unavailability of a very obvious muhtasal that people can go to. Of course, not everyone and not all families are as religious, but this is a right for every Muslim and every Shia to be buried correctly. So during the COVID pandemic, we got together and this became one of our key priorities. Some of the other projects we were working due to the pandemic fell through, and this became one of our key priorities. We took a full study on success rates of projects that have started but failed in the past in our community in London. We looked at the business case and we looked at the key hurdles, both legal, financial and other hurdles in our community, so that we don't fall down the same rabbit holes. And speaking to experts, it seems that we need 6 to 7 funeral care providers within the M25 to truly provide for our community. I'd hate to think what happens to the rest of the demand that isn't met by Stanmore and other muhtasals outside of London. So we started the planning process, and we went through a lot of hurdles ourselves. The venue we have now at 111 Willesden Lane, just down the road, was actually the 5th venue. So we were nearing completion on 2 venues, but due to various constraints, it fell through. Alhamdulillah, we finally signed the lease about a month ago on this venue. The stage we're at now, so the planning stage is absolutely complete. Demolitions has been completed. The wiring was completed about a week ago, and we're now constructing the morgue, the fridge area, and finishing the wet room and the takfeen area. Of course, we still haven't bought much of the furnishings, which I'll come to. The services we hope to provide will be a 24-hour hotline, 24/7 hotline. Of course, the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes at any time, and people don't know how to deal with the situation, so they need to have someone to call. It will start with full legal, religious guidance right from the first phone call, full liaison with local legal experts. We have people with over 20 years of experience working with us who have personal relationships with councils and with coroners, where most of the delay happens after a death. So that's a key point. And we deal with everything right from that first phone call, picking up the mayyit, the ghusl, the takfeen, providing all the advice to the family right up until the burial, and indeed if you'd like a repatriation, these are all things that we can do. There are payment plans, hardship fund options, and of course these will be built with time and as the project gets along. So what do we do? What do we need now? We need volunteers, of course. So we have a team ready to go once the construction phase finishes. But we need volunteers because these things happen around the clock, and we need a B and a C team. So I'll be around, and there is a list on the sisters side as well. So if anyone has any experience or would like to gain experience, please give your name in to myself or on the sisters side, one of the volunteers, and hopefully within a month or so we will start training and start these services. But more immediately, we need your donations. The construction phase is almost finished. There's a lot of furniture to get. If you'd like to donate specifically for any items, for example, we still don't have the fridge, so that's about £11,500. The table, I believe someone's pledged to yesterday but hasn't been donated for. That's almost £2,000. There are other things, a couple of trolleys, about £700, and there are some smaller items as well. If you'd like to pledge or donate for a specific item, please do. But general donations for the finishing phase. Some of the plumbing still hasn't been done, so these all need to be paid. So if you'd like to donate, please see the donation stand outside. There is a QR code, there is a website, so please do donate. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.